All right, the Reds. It's Talking Reds. Talking Reds live from Liverpool with me, Gareth Roberts, with Neil Atkinson. And we're going to talk about the West Ham game, and the big headline news is Antonio is out. Oh. Get in! I mean, you shouldn't celebrate a fella being injured, but this fella is literally the form fella since they brought back footy in June. Yeah. There's only Harry Kane who scored more goals than him in the Premier League.
And Kane's been brilliant, don't get me wrong, but Kane's at least sort of conventional. Whereas Antonio's so unconventional. He's been so good. He's been good for years. He's been better than his press for years. He's been good for years.
So hard to deal with, isn't he?
He's such a good footballer. You know, he reminds me of genuinely the way in which he plays when you get to see him, but he's a bit bigger than him. It is Mane. The way he puts his body in, uses it, his touch is sublime. You know, you throw anything at him, he gets it under control. He wants to run direct at people. He fancies any physical battle you want to give him. He'll control it with any part of his body. He's Sadio Mane basically playing for West Ham. That's the form he's been in, but with more goals. So listen, I just wanted him to be, you know, one of them where it's like, well, we're just going to rest him and give him a couple of games. I think he's great, and I think he's great to have in the league. When I got the news through, though, that he's definitely not playing against us, it was glasses off, tops off and kecks off. You name it, I took it off. I'll only do glasses on air for this, but it was you name it, I was removing it. It was that, it is live. It was that excitable because with our centre. Listen, if it was Van Dijk and Gomez, I'd say play Antonio. Let's have the challenge. Genuinely, you know how I am. I love a challenge. Let's make it interesting. But with it being Gomez, who's also had a ton of games now as well, plus someone else, it'll be, it's so much better for us. Don't get me wrong. If they go Bowen up top, he's a big lad as well who can use his body.
He's all right, isn't he? He's not bad. I hope they don't go him. The other fella's mad, isn't he? Like, you're looking at some of their other options and thinking about what they could do. And they spent a lot of money on the other fella, what's he called? No, Yarmolenko.
Yarmolenko, the wide lad,
And he's just a mad player.
Yeah.
Did you see him when he come on the other day? It's like he'd never played footy.
Yeah.
And then, like, you look at his international record and he's like absolutely slaughtered loads for his country. They paid a lot of money for him. There's other clubs still interested in him, and it's like, what gives here?
They've got loads of these. They've got Yarmolenko. They've still got Felipe Anderson somewhere knocking around. Yeah. And they've got Haller, who they paid 45 million for last summer. But he wins his head as Haller, don't get me wrong. But he manages to almost play footy whenever you watch him, like he's in another dimension to the rest of the team. Like it's like he's got portholes around the pitch, and he pops out, wins a header, and then disappears again. He can't link anything up. And they've really struggled with him. And he had a good record before he came, and I thought he looked quite promising. So they've got now a lot of odd options. That's the thing for West Ham. I think he'll go Bowen with Yarmolenko wide. That's what I think he'll do. But he might go Haller and keep Bowen wide to try and pin our fullbacks back a bit. But it's just not Mikel. And I mean that. And when we have celebrated that at the start, listen, it is with the greatest respect to the footballer. I think that's got to be said.
It just means it's more likely that Liverpool win the football match, and that's what we want. Let's be honest. West Ham have got an awful record at Anfield. They've only won 4 ever. Which is a bit mad, isn't it?
Since 1892.
And one of them was that, like, Rodgers last season. But
it was a killer.
They've been playing well. They've been really impressive. And I was putting it down to Moyes not being there because it seemed to pick up when he got corona. But he's back now, and they're still getting decent results. 1-1 draw with Manchester City, although they did run a little bit out of steam in that one. Tottenham 3, West Ham 3 before that. They beat Leicester 3-0 at Leicester's place, which is very impressive. Lost 4-1 to Everton though, but then did also tonk Wolves 4-0. So yeah, they've been decent, haven't they?
They've been really good since the end of lockdown. Since going back into the back end of last season, I did some numbers for them on the report, and they're in really good shape in terms of both the results, but also the underlying numbers. They're creating more chances than the opposition. They're not giving that many chances away, and they're also creating more. So it's not just they haven't just shut the door at the back. They're creating stuff all the way through. I think in a really, and I mean this as a compliment, I think they're probably the best team in the bottom 10. And what I mean by that is, at the minute, we don't know where Everton will finish. Everton could still challenge for top 4. So if you take them out the equation, if you take a couple of others out the equation because you're still not sure. But West Ham, they also play a bit like a bottom 10 team, whereas some sides are more in your face, and they want to play like they want to be in the top 6, even those that aren't recognised as top 6 teams. West Ham will sit back. They'll let you have the ball. But when they counter, they'll play 5-4-1. But when they counter, they'll look to win it back quick and hurt you very, very fast. And I think that it sort of suits Moyes in many ways. Antonio is the perfect Moyes striker. Plus he scores. Do you remember Marcus Bent, who was a nightmare to play against but would never score?
Yeah.
Whereas I think now with Antonio, he's had something that suits him down to the ground. And they've bought 2 lads from the Czech Republic who are massive. built like nothing you've seen in your life and are winners. They've won the league with Prague on a couple of occasions and they've been great for them. Souček's been the business since January for West Ham. You know, and you go through that West Ham side and listen, there's
some good players, isn't he? Rice, obviously.
The big lads as well, though, and that's got to worry us at the minute. You know,
Cresswell's decent.
Great set pieces, really good player. Rice 6 foot plus, Souček 6 foot plus, Koufal 6 foot plus. Two other centre halves, massive. Bowen, big boy. You know what I mean? These are, I think, genuinely. Listen, we've got to make us favourites without Antonio. You've got to make us favourites at Anfield anyway. Yeah. But set pieces are going to be a nightmare with them, I think. I think they're going to absolutely look to bully us.
Well, Jurgen Klopp's done his press conference just about sort of half an hour or so ago and asked about various things as ever, but sort of top of the list was Van Dijk. He has now had his surgery. We were just saying, they always say, and it was successful. I mean, have you ever heard when it wasn't? But yeah, it was. He says it was successful. He says this is a time that's always unpleasant. He's as good as he can be, and that's it. And that is it. What else can we say? We've been talking about it since it happened.
But in himself, Gareth, I mean, that's the key thing. And you've interviewed Van Dijk, you've had the pleasure, you've spent some time with him and you really liked him. How do you think he'll cope with it? Like, because he's always seemed quite laid back, but it must be a nightmare for a player to not know when you're going to get back playing and what's your team in the meantime.
Yeah, there is no time frame on his return. They were very clear about that as well. Yeah, I mean, as much as, you know, having an hour or so with him gives you any kind of insight. He's a positive fella. There's no two ways about that. He's a nice fella. He's got all the things you'd expect about him. He's got a real presence and that kind of thing. And I think that's as much a blow to Liverpool as his actual quality on the pitch, because he'd just be a sound fella to be around, you know what I mean? He's one of them. So Liverpool will miss that as much as anything else. I mean, I know he'll be in Melwood from time to time, but you know, we all heard the stories. You know, you're in a different bit and everyone's out on the pitch and you're lying on a bed somewhere.
Every now and again hearing a sound in the distance, being miserable about it. Yeah.
So it is grim, and you know it will be tough for him, and it's a little bit shit as well. Let's be honest with the situation that everyone's in. You know, your freedom, your ability to do anything is restricted currently, and that will apply to him as much as it does to us. But yeah, fingers crossed he's back this season at some point, obviously towards the end of the season if he is, and if not next season. But it is a blow. But the next question was then, of course, well, what are you doing this weekend, basically? And everyone's been talking about Reece Williams all week. I thought it was interesting. Klopp said after the game the other night, he went, one of the things he's going to have to deal with, he said, like, you're all going to write a story about him every single day now until West Ham. And that's exactly what's happened. They've dug everyone out that's ever played for Kidderminster Harriers. Everyone who's managed them, everyone who's ever set a foot on a pitch with Reece has been dug out. But it's all been positive stuff, like, it's all been good stuff. They've all spoke well about his character, said he's had a few knocks, said he made a few mistakes, but he immediately lifted himself up from them. And so it could be him. It could be Nat Phillips. It could be Henderson. People have been talking about Wijnaldum.
You made a bit of a case for Nat Phillips to me before. I am intrigued by it. We've sort of written him off in our own minds. He actually does all right in that game against Everton that we watched him play. He has a terrible first 20 where he looks rocky as anything, but then he finds his feet. You know, there is a case to be made for Phillips, maybe a bit more than we're all making. Yeah,
I mean, he's 23 to Reece Williams is 19, and I think, you know, he's not pulled up trees when he's played for us, but as you say, solid enough in that particular game. But also as well, he's played 22 games when he was at Stuttgart on loan in the Bundesliga, so that's a decent level. Yeah. And they seem to talk like fairly fondly of him. And there was a little mini documentary made about him actually by Marvin Sordell. You'll probably be able to find it somewhere online if you fancied watching it. And it was just about his life when he was playing for Stuttgart. It was good. And he seemed a decent lad in that as well. So I mean, he's a big lad, he's going to win stuff in the air. I don't think he's he's not particularly a ball player, is he? Obviously, Gomez, I mean, I was just saying before, half joking, but if you did put him in, I think you'd just be saying, listen, just do the basics, mate, win the ball, give it to Henderson, and crack on.
Well, to be honest, you know, and when we did the hot mic on it, we were a bit mean about him at times, but he sort of reminds me a little bit of Rob Holding. I don't know if it's just the name, you know what I mean, but that's sort of all you'd be asking for is just meat and potatoes centre-half play. Yeah. And if you can do meat and potatoes centre-half play, no one, will he have a mistake in him? Will all centre-halves have a mistake in him? Van Dijk's made mistakes. Yeah. But it's how he picks himself back up. And I do wonder whether or not the manager might listen. I wouldn't want him starting at City. And I think you'd have to come up with something for City. And if it's get Matip back or whatever it is, you'd have to find your way through City. But I think maybe the idea of West Ham at home to give him the opportunity, have a little look and just sort of be saying to him, as you say, listen, just do the simple bits. We've got these great lads to do the complicated bits. You just do the simple bits. bits, and we all get through it together.
Yeah, we've got Billy Cometio as well, but he's injured at the moment, so he's not going to be in contention for it. And then you are into the wild card territory of, do you play a midfielder there? The problem there is numbers in midfield, though. We've obviously lost Fabinho from midfield. Although, on that, some further good news today from the press conference is that Thiago could play tomorrow, really hope he does, and also Keita could be available as well. They're just sort of seeing where they are with them, but they don't sound like they're far away, so that's going to be a big boost. And if those two are available, then I think you've got the option of Henderson playing at the back like he did in the World Club Cup.
You have, and it's also, all of this is also with one eye on the games that follow. Atalanta away on Tuesday, which could be a bit mad, and it's sort of all right if Liverpool choose to write it off, but they might not feel they need to, and then City on the Sunday. The key thing to say is that if Thiago and Keita are very close for this one against West Ham, then they're definitely in contention for City. And that's not to take West Ham lightly, they'll take some beating from a Liverpool point of view, but listen, we know it's a big week. We know that they're all big weeks, but we know it's a big week at the minute. And if Liverpool can get through West Ham with the 3 points and unscathed, then it all becomes about doing everything they can to get the best possible result in Atalanta. And it's all right to get beat, but get the best possible result in Atalanta, and then not get beat at the Etihad. Because if they beat West Ham and they win at the Etihad, and I don't want to overplay this sort of stuff because it could come back and bite you, but they'd find themselves 8 points clear of City. City would have a game in hand. That'd be the bare minimum if they got a win at the Etihad. And then from there, you've gone through the toughest period of the season. You played 6 draw and 1 lost one. Everyone else in the league will be looking at you.
I'm still dreaming of Ryan Brewster slotting tomorrow against City and
it could be exactly. It could be even more.
Yeah.
You never know. But I think all of that is just the idea of having got through all the ups and downs, the 7-2 against Villa, the Merseyside derby, the VAR issues, the injuries, and then you got through that, and let's say you'd won 6 of your first 8. Honestly, if I was the rest of the country, I'd be going, I can't be bothered with these. When are they going to stop doing this? And I think that it'd be massive for the club. So it's obviously one game at a time, and you've got to focus on West Ham. But the good news from today's press conference isn't just about West Ham. It's about Atalanta, but it's especially about the Etihad.
Yeah, let's get some comments. Then we are live today. So we're on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, I believe. But yeah, let's have a look here. So other people have been watching the press conference as well and just commenting on a few things there. A few lols at you taking your glasses off and looking to take other things off, etc. Subpar Stroker is saying he's off work today, and is it reasonable to crack open a beer already?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we shouldn't encourage this sort of thing, but
there's no rules currently, is there really?
No, but
I mean, there is, and that's why there's no rules, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, there's that, but also he's acknowledged in and of himself his stroke game's not marvellous, so he's got to find things to compensate for it, so definitely he can crack on with the ale. We've
also got someone saying Haller sounds like a Jog Ferrero Rocher from Lidl.
Yeah.
Jose Mourinho, hi mate. He says,
he's not got things on.
He says everyone's writing us off. Is he talking about Spurs here? He says everyone's writing us off. I think if we get through the next 3 games unscathed, everyone's in for a rude awakening, which is what you just said, basically.
Really do think that. And unscathed is, not losing at the Etihad and not losing at Atalanta. I tell you what, I'd take a defeat at Atalanta to have 3 points at the Etihad all day. We do this thing just on this. Everyone did it all the way through the Champions League group. Everyone did this thing where they went, do you know what we can do? If we win the first 4, we can then rest people for the other 2. And it's a bit of game theory. In that, yeah, that's right. Don't get me wrong. It's a bit of game theory, but sometimes you've maybe got to say, well, can we just pick the 2 we rest people for? Like, can we pick our 2 where we deliberately weaken and risk defeat? Because, yeah, the ideal world is everything's going swimmingly and then you just write the last 2 off and you might still get something. One of them's Midfield away. But it's a bit like if you're Klopp, now you're going, well, I have still got Ajax and Atalanta at home and Midfield away after this if we don't win this one. I've got loads of room to correct this. We can sort this out later. And I think that because we're humans, we just want to go, get it done, then don't worry. But there'll be a bit of Klopp because he's a professional and he's got to weigh this stuff up, that maybe he'll be going, you know what, I'll just run the risk in Atalanta because City's such a massive game and we've got 6 points in our back pocket.
Someone's pointed out there that Phillips played in the German 2nd division, not Bundesliga. Thanks for that, mate. Someone else saying, but Stuttgart got promoted.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Well, we faced them in pre-season. They were quite good. Yeah. Not being funny about it. They were. I mean, we were a bit behind our prep, but I thought they were quite good and they play a lot of football.
Someone mentioned him when Lucas played at centre-half and was actually pretty good there.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing as well. I've been thinking about this week about, we talked before about the media are just doing the jobs. I don't really want to come across as though I'm moaning about the media. Media are just doing their jobs, and if a world-class centre-half goes out, they're going to write about it, they're going to talk about it. But I do think sometimes when you know, like when you see a midfielder moved back and it's as though like there's a horse on the pitch or something. They're a footballer though, do you know what I mean? With a skill set. It's like Henderson played right back at Blackburn away, didn't he, once?
Years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and was pretty decent there.
He was great, he was man of the match.
Remember Mascherano moving to full back? Decent there. Mascherano played at centre-half at Barca as well, didn't he? Decent there, obviously. And it's just this, you know, I think we get really stuck in like, oh no, he's a centre-half, and he's this, and he's that.
In the same way with Phillips, I said before, if he plays, or even if, you know, if Reece Williams plays, whoever plays, they'll make a mistake. Van Dijk made mistakes, Gomez makes mistakes, Fabinho made mistakes. We literally saw Fabinho make mistakes last couple of games he's played there. There is a thing here where you can, whoever plays centre-half will at some point make a bit of a mistake. And what it'll be, well, that's because they're being moved back there. And there might be a bit of that, but there'll also be that football is, to an extent, a game of mistakes, and it's about how you come back from them. There's a big thing for me. You know, everyone loved the picture with Henderson in front of Fabinho, where it's like, yeah. Everyone loved that. But there's a thing there where that's our captain. He's gone over, he's found out what's happening with Fabinho, he's done this, and then he's turned around to the rest of the team and he's gone, we're winning this. We're 1-0 down, but we're winning this. You know, we win this game now, this is what we're about. We weren't 1-0 down at that point, sorry, it was 0-0, but we're winning this and we're all staying together. And for me, that tells you the value of this squad and this group. You know, they are so resilient. They didn't let it affect them, and it would have been perfectly acceptable if they'd have all been doing what Jordan was doing. Yeah. But they don't do that, and you make mistakes, and you have issues against you, and you fix it, and you sort it out, and you win anyway.
Yeah, and Klopp was talking about that again in the press conference today about everything's a challenge. They know it's a challenge. Life's a challenge. And they're happy with it being that, and that's sort of the culture that they're all bought into. They're not feeling sorry for themselves. You don't see any evidence of that at all. I mean, it was a bit boring midweek, don't get me wrong.
It was very boring.
But we got the other side of it with a victory, and, you know, who's asked? Like, you've won, and that's all that really matters. And I think there's going to be a bit of that for a while. I think we're going to see gritty stuff, but I'm all right with gritty stuff, to be honest. I'd love to see the champagne stuff, don't get me wrong, but gritty stuff is what wins you things. Look, Man United did loads of gritty stuff for absolute decades, it seemed, and you were like, they're not even that good, but they still win.
Gritty stuff's what you do in February, what you talk about in February that you did in October, when you all look at each other and say, we don't let this go now, because we've done the hard part. We did the bit where we all had to knuckle down and work so hard with one another. Now is when we take advantage of it. And that's what I've got so much respect for this squad, everything it's achieved. In adversity, you know, Kiev, they come back from Kiev, they keep moving forward, 3-0 down against Barcelona. There are other examples, going toe-to-toe with City all the way through that season, picking themselves up for the final against Tottenham, coming back then and just not standing for it the season that follows. It would have been the easiest thing in the world to win the Champions League, but the league was too hard. And we've done something now, and we're Liverpool legends, aren't we? And they went, no, we're going to win 26 of our first 27 league games. Oh, yeah. Because and I still I'm very boring about this, but I genuinely don't think enough people have gone. It's crazy that they did that. There is a reason why no one, not just in English football, but in any of the top 5 leagues in Europe, has done that ever. There's a reason why it's the greatest start in football history. And the reason why is because it just never happens. It's practically impossible. And they won 26 of the first 27 games. If you think they haven't got the bottle to deal with a centre-half having a knock, however long-term it is, and a couple of other issues, you're absolutely kidding yourselves. And they've had a Thiago Alcantara, who wins the league every year and wins everything else. And he's going to be going, it's all right, this lads, we just sort it. You know why? Because we're better.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him play again.
Oh, yeah.
On the defence, a few people just sort of commenting on the defence. Neil Flynn says, we had the 3rd worst defence since the restart. So maybe the removal of the high line without Virgil can actually help the defence a little bit.
Everyone's got to concentrate more.
Yeah. This is, by the way, our latest T-shirt available from the AnfieldWrap.com/shop, I think. It is a Thiago T-shirt. It is printed and designed in Liverpool, available in our shop. We post it out worldwide, so if you like the look of that,
how are we?
Including how are we on it there. There's a little video which is nice on our social as well, if you want to go and have a look at that. It's on our Twitter feed. Just showing you it being made, and it's just one of those really satisfying things. You know, when the little thing comes down and you see it, it's lovely. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of them. You can just put it on a loop and sit there with a can going, Sam, that isn't it?
Yeah. Like, did you watch the one they had recently with the French fella who made the butter? And there was all the butter going around, and there was butter dropping. Oh, God. Like, honestly, I could just watch some of these things all day. The butter one was like, oh, Jesus, this is amazing.
I like those little satisfying videos, and that is very much one. But yeah, if you like the look of that, that is available right now in the Anfield Wrap shop. Also as well, we have got the game, of course, as I mentioned, Saturday night, 5:30, live on Sky. We'll be doing our alternative commentary again, won't we?
Yeah, we're on the hot mic. Listen, if you feel a bit disconnected, and I think a lot of us do, feel free to jump on. It's a pleasure to be able to do it, to be honest. We're lucky to be able to do it and get in the same room. It is work. You know, we're not shy about that, but simultaneously we know we're fortunate to have that ourselves, but we're looking to share it with people and say, come on, just sort of listen to the nonsense, to be honest with you. It's not... You know, we're not necessarily doing a lot of play-by-play, but when it's called for, we do that. You know, we do describe the game and commentate on it when it's called for, but if there's little lulls in that, we discuss other matters. And, you know, we want it to sort of sound like a bit of a cross between being in your supporters club bar / your boozy you go to watch the match versus having your mates round versus being in the ground, to be quite honest with you, because we all miss different aspects of that. And, you know, hopefully it can fill that void, and we're really pleased to do it. So there's an app you can download, it's called Hot Mic, and on there you can follow the Anfield app. When you do that, it'll notify you. I mean, we're awful. We should be getting on like 30 minutes before kick-off, and normally it really is the equivalent of running up the stairs when You'll Never Walk Alone's playing. But that bit aside, you can then sync most of the time to your telly. It's not a perfect system, but it does work relatively well. Lower the background noise down a little bit so you can hear it a tiny little bit better, and it comes through for you. And as I say, it's as much to provide a service to people, because in different ways we do all feel disconnected. I know it's hard for a lot of people at the minute, and you know, it's tough for us, to be honest, as much, but we get to sometimes come and do this, which you and I know both really enjoy. You know, Lizzie messaged me before, said, do you mind doing Talking Reds later? I was like, do I mind doing Talking Reds? I will run down the stairs to do Talking Reds. So, you know, we enjoy, we know we're lucky to get to do this, but we're trying to share it with you, so do check the Hot Mic out.
Yeah, and all the usual stuff as well, podcast before and after, video before and after, writing on the website before and after, and stuff on the socials as well, so check all that out here. We probably should mention as well that tomorrow is likely going to be Trent's 100th Premier League start.
It's astonishing, isn't it? Start.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So, yeah, Klopp was asked about that. He said, great number, interesting journey, super basis as a player and a person. He's made big developments, and when you see his pictures from his first game, he was a boy, now he's a man. The difference couldn't be bigger. There is space for improvement, and he'll use it. Some really good stuff. I don't know if you've seen it yet on BT with Trent.
Yeah.
There was one where it was just him and Rio Ferdinand, and then there was another one where it was Rio Ferdinand, Trent and Robertson.
Yeah, that's the one I've seen. I haven't seen just him and Rio.
Really good and really honest, and he really sort of opened up, and you know, a lot of the sort of questions that have been thrown his way, he was thrown his way again, but he answered them a little bit differently this time. And I liked it because he was confident talking about how good he is himself.
Yeah.
You know, when players are look a bit awkward about doing that sometimes, he was more like, no, I know how good I am, and I've been watching these players, and I've been looking to improve, and I know I have. And they asked him about midfield, and he was like, yeah, I wouldn't mind playing in midfield. And you know, it always used to be he wouldn't say that, and then Rio was pushing him a bit on it, and he's like, you know, would you go and knock at the manager's door? And he was like, oh no, I wouldn't do that. He said, I totally respect the manager and what he does and where he plays me, and he knows that. And he said, I would never go and do that. He said, but if he asked me to play in midfield, I'd definitely be all right with it.
There's a little path there with Kimmich. You know, Kimmich at Bayern Munich was right back, and last season he starts to move into midfield, and I thought it genuinely was tremendous. I mean, you know, he was, some of the games I saw him play for Bayern, certainly when we came back after lockdown, I thought he was unbelievable. So there is that pathway for him. I think part of it is obviously, you know, who else is playing right back, because right now we've got the best right back in the world. And I think as part of this, listen, I've done a bit of this now on this show, but we need to sort of take stock every now and again. Trent Alexander-Arnold, he could break Ian Callaghan's record. I don't think he will, but he could break Ian Callaghan's record for a number of appearances. He genuinely could. When you think how old he is now and how many more seasons he's got, if he avoids any major injury, he could genuinely break Ian Callaghan's record. So we could right now be watching the Liverpool record appearance holder. He could end up top 10. Number 2, he could get as many medals as any Liverpool player has ever had if he plays 12, 13, 14 years.
We said in this interview that he fancied winning the Champions League 3 times.
There you go. He
fancies I was like, go on, son.
Well, we fancy it as well. But we're watching genuinely, like, with Trent, but not just with Trent. You know, we've been watching, and it's one of the reasons why. You said before about the media with Van Dijk, and, you know, you feel like you're saying the media. But the point is, part of the reason is, the media know whatever constitutes the media, but they know he could be one of, if not the greatest centre-half ever to play the game in this country. We're watching the best Liverpool team, or one of the best Liverpool teams ever, which therefore mean they're very high in terms of best club sides ever to play in English football. I mean, every now and again, we've got to take stock of that, take a breath,
definitely.
rather than just go, and I know you're big on it as well, every now and again with Salah and with Mane, to say, these lads are unreal. You're great on the post-match pint going, that you talked about it with Salah last week, the goal that wasn't given, and it's fine, it wasn't given.
Superb, though.
No, it was the sort of stuff
like Bergkamp type stuff.
I was going to say, it's stuff that like is highlights, real stuff, but Beardsley against Everton, do you know what I mean? Like the stuff that sticks with you your whole life. And we're watching it every game. We're not just watching it one game in 5. We're watching it every match. The stuff that sticks with you your whole life. We can be annoyed with VAR. It's terrible not being in the ground, don't get me wrong, and it's terrible for all of football. You know, we can be grumpy about these things, and at times we'd be right to be. But simultaneously, this is it. This is it right now. It is a joy to be alive. We are watching what may well be the best Liverpool side of your life and my life. Yeah. Certainly of our match-going lives. Even if we live to be 80, we might not get a better team than this. We will be the old men at the age of 75 in the boozer saying, that new lad who's a robot's good, but he's no Sadio Mane. He is no... Let me tell you about Sadio Mane, and everyone will be going, oh, he's talking about Sadio Mane again. But the reason why is because that's how good Sadio Mane is. And we should just enjoy it. And tomorrow against West Ham, it's not ideal that we're not there, that it's the way it is. Yeah. But it's 5:30 Saturday, and it should be one of the best Saturday nights of your life because this is the best Liverpool team of your life. Absolutely.
Wade Upton says, all right, Rob-Ola, I mate, you're all right. Louise says, why is it blue about the new t-shirt? I'll tell you why it's blue. We asked the subscribers, because we've got a subscribers group on Facebook. So if you subscribe and fancy jumping in, get involved. It's a bit wild sometimes, but it's quite useful for us in terms of taking the temperature on what we're doing with shows, what we're doing with t-shirts, and the lads were in there and they said, you know, what colour do you all want? And most people, you know, seemed comfortable wearing navy blue gear.
You're wearing bluish now, you've got blue jeans on.
I'm all right with the blue thing. I've never had a problem with it, because I always think it's dead funny when Evertonians are like, I'm not having nothing red. Yeah. And I'm like, what, don't you eat tomatoes? No.
Some of them don't.
I know, I can imagine that no ketchup in their house. When they cut the finger, they're fuming. Yeah. Oh, red!
Alan Ball once said on commentary, when you cut him, he bleeds blue. No, he doesn't, Alan. If he does, he's very unwell.
Oh, yeah, we haven't mentioned as well, we should wrap this up, but before we go, we haven't mentioned that Moyes traditionally has always shit the bed when he comes to Anfield. Never won a match at Anfield, and I know some people will say the tempting fate thing, but there's something in that. I always think, you know, these records that you have around teams and players and managers, there is something in that, because that'll be in his head. You know what I mean? Yeah. When he's making decisions, it's in his head. Shit, I've never won here. Shit, it always goes wrong here. You know, there will be a little voice chattering away in his head saying that.
There is, but I think he's managed both better sides than this one, and I think they're a good side at the minute, but he's managed better sides than this one, but also sides closer to the level of the Liverpool team he's facing than this one. So I think, you know, at times I feel as though, Moyes is doing his job well, and he's just managed for the first time in his life, I suspect, he's 3-0 down at Tottenham. And he gets them back to a 3-3. You know, that's a really good comeback, and that's good management, and you've got to praise him for that.
Some goal though, in the third one. I mean, like that's not management. That's just fucking hell.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great tops-off goal. That actually, like, it was the right thing to do at that time. I think he's doing all right at the minute, and I laughed when he went back to West Ham, and obviously I laughed my head off if we get I love a camera cuts to David Moyes and he looks upset/confused. That cut that you get with Moyes. And hopefully we get a couple of them because we're winning the game and we're comfortable. But, you know, credit to him for what he's done there. And I think it's nice to be nice every now and again. That said, obviously, I've got no interest whatsoever in him righting any wrongs this weekend. And without Antonio, listen, you know, I'm always bullish about the Reds anyway, but I really do think Liverpool this weekend, I think they'll do more than get it done. I think they'll be a bit better than they were against Sheffield United, because I think that a fair few of them, they haven't had the Ajax game. It was Tuesday to Saturday. It's not Wednesday. It wasn't the Ajax pitch. It was the Anfield pitch. They haven't had the travel. And also a lot of them don't play against Ajax. Sorry, against Midtjylland, who played against Ajax. I think we can put a bit of a show on for an hour.
Getting ripped it by one of my mates here for calling Tommy K ketchup. Soz righty lad. I haven't changed, I'm still me. There was one I wanted to ask you. I was going to do this at the start. It's one of them days. I'm in a daft mood. What's your favourite old school Scouse greeting? So Sam just did a good one before, and I did one back. I don't know if you were here or whether you heard it. So Sam did a all right, Blue. All right, Blue. Our fellas say all right, Blue. I don't know why. But there used to be a fella in my nan's road who used to say all right, Whack.
Whack.
Yeah,
I like whack.
I loved whack.
I like whack.
I like whack. Sound. Have you got one? You got any others?
No, I just
put you on the spot there.
No, you put me on the spot, but I just like a lad, to be honest with you.
Just like a lad.
And I like a lad from an old fella. Like, one of the things I like, because I'm 40 in January, so I like when someone does. There was a fella who came to do stuff with our boiler. He might actually watch this. He sounds. So he came at the back end of the boiler process. Like when it got hard and Wi-Fi orientated, the other fella got this fella in to sort it for me. And he very much like he lads me from minute one as soon as he sees me, and he's in his late 60s. And it makes me think, you know what, I'm still young. I've still got something here. He just lads me from minute one, and I'm like, yeah, fine. I'm not nearly 40. I'm actually 22.
Yeah, because you're getting a lad off an older fella. Yeah, I like that. I like a lad. Okay, I think we've done it there. We've still got 5. We've got on YouTube here. We've got 585 people watching. That's good, isn't it?
Listen, enjoy your dinner. Take it seriously. Have something decent. Settle yourselves down. It's Friday. And you're going to watch the best footy team in the world.
Absolutely. And yeah, watch it with us. Listen with us. Read it with us. Whatever. Get on that hot mic on Saturday night. Get yourself a bevy. Get involved. And yeah, watch the Reds. Watch one of the best teams you've ever seen in your life. Buy a t-shirt. Have a great weekend. Up the fucking Reds.